Ready. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to welcome you to the City of Somerville Zoning Board of Appeals for August 6th, 2025. It is 6:03. Pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2025, this meeting of the Somerville Zoning Board of Appeals will be conducted via remote participation. A video recording of these proceedings will be available on the city website, meetings and events page, or by emailing zoningboard@somervillema.gov. Joining us this evening is the Zoning Board of Appeals, your members, and they are Ann Brockelman. She is our vice chair, and tonight she will be the acting clerk. We also have Ann Fullerton, Zach Zaremba, Cecilia Daglian, and I am Ursula Susan Fontano, your chair. For the staff tonight, we have Kit Luster, Lexi Payne, and I think that's it for right now. So without further ado, thank you. Without further ado, we're going to take our first case for tonight. On the agenda, it's the second. We're taking that out of order right now. So, Madam Vice Chair, would you please take Lewisburg Place first, please?
Yes, we'll open the case 7 Lewisburg Place, ZP 25000056. The legal notice is 7-9 Lewisburg Place LLC. Seek to expand an existing nonconformity for the width of the main massing in the neighborhood residence and R district, which requires a special permit finding.
Thank you. Who's here tonight representing this case? Is it, who's here representing the case?
Chair Fontano, this is Kit. Garrett Innes will be promoted.
Okay.
Hello.
Hi, and who is Garrett
I am
Innes?
Garrett Innes. I'm the
Innes.
I'm the owner of this project, and Ann Vigorito is representing us tonight.
Oh, great. Okay, great. So tell us about your project.
Yeah, so this is a two-family house that's kind of in a funky location. It's off of Autumn Street. It's the only house on Lewisburg Place, but it's, the address is 7-9, and it's kind of between two other houses, and you kind of go down this common private way to get to the house. And the issue is that it's the house is oriented kind of sideways. So the city kind of determines that the length and the width are kind of switched, basically. And we're just proposing a pretty small addition in the front of the house, but every part of the house is already within all the setbacks. And it's kind of a funky situation. I have a slideshow that shows how it's oriented, and this is kind of exactly why these kind of special permits were created for a house like this, in which you can't really do anything to because of the irregular lot shape and the way it's oriented to the public way.
Okay. You can, Kit would be glad to give you the screen so you can show us your plans if that's what you like.
Yeah, let me
Good
see.
evening, Madam Chairman. This is Attorney Ann Vigorito from 424 Broadway, Somerville.
Yes.
I'm going to do this. I appreciate you folks having me this evening. I'm going to work the slideshow along with Mr. Innes. I think once he gets up on the first slide, we'll get everything rolling along.
Great. Please do. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Once again, good evening, everyone. This is the special permit application for 7 Lewisburg Place. The owner of the project is 7-9 Lewisburg Place LLC. Garrett Innes is the manager. I am the agent attorney, Ann Vigorito. The architect is Mark Sullivan. Mark Sullivan was unable to join us this evening. But Garrett worked hand in hand with him in the designing of this project. So we're pretty confident that we should be able to get all of the information and any answers the board may have. Garrett, next slide, please. This is an aerial view of where the project is, and so you can kind of see from Broadway. You'll see Dunkin' Donuts. This is in Ward 1. I don't know if I mentioned that. I apologize. It's in an NR zoning district. Next slide, please. This is essentially, this is a view from Autumn Street. So you see where 7 Lewisburg Place is. And as Garrett did describe, it's in a somewhat of a odd location. And the proposal here is to make this, the premises look a lot better. Garrett, next slide, please. This is an actual photo of 7 Lewisburg. You know, it's not in the best of shapes. And this is the neighborhood context map. And you'll see how it sits. If you look Autumn Street and then Lewisburg Place is right off of that. It's parcel on the context map, parcel 32. Next slide, please, Garrett. And this is the site plan, plot plan. There are 2 parking spaces that will be provided for this project. I know it's not required, but I do mention it as it is part of the project. Next slide, Garrett. This is a further of the plot plan. And before we go on to the next slide, I just, there was a neighborhood meeting for this project back on June 3rd of this year. The neighborhood fully supported this project. Also, Matt McLaughlin, who is the Ward 1 counselor, has said he supports it. He's excited to, you know, see this project go forward. And we're going to go on to the next slide, where I think Garrett will walk you through the actual floor plans, because he was really hand in hand with the architect on how he wanted this set up. And just not to belittle the process, but you know, we're essentially looking for 7 feet 1 inch addition of the main massing. This is not something, you know, over the top to create a mega mansion, let's just say. You know, the way the building is somewhat situated on the lot to create what Mr. Innes was, you know, hoping and essentially originally perceived as an as-of-right project. This is the only component that would hold him back in requiring a special permit. I do know, and I'm sure the board knows by, you know, the staff report, the planning staff does support this special permit as well. And I'm going to ask Garrett now to go through the floor plans because he knows them so well. Thank you.
Yes, so this kind of gives you a nice overlay of you know, showing the addition. It's just a 7-foot addition in the front. I mean, from the existing bay, it's only about 4'10" is the addition, plus a 6-foot porch in front of it. So it's designed to comply with all the zoning regulations if the lot was not irregularly shaped as it is and oriented in the way that it is. This is what the building looks like now. It's just 2-story, and we're proposing to add, you know, a 3rd story to it, as well as another unit on the top floor. Without the addition, it's just very, even though the addition is very small, it really it helps tremendously in creating more kind of family oriented units up top. Otherwise, there would only be 1-bedroom units on the 2nd and 3rd floor. It's just very difficult. But this way we're getting a 3-bedroom unit on the 1st floor, along with the finished lower level. And then the 2nd floor will have a 2-bedroom layout with a nice sized living room. And the 3rd floor, well, it's a little tighter, but it'll have 2 bedrooms and common space. But
In
the
our,
best,
excuse me,
yes.
Garrett, in our packet that we were sent, I didn't see a 3rd floor. I
Yes.
have,
There's
I
a,
have the measurements, the rooms, double hung windows, all that proposed renovation. Then it goes right to the first floor. Then it goes right to the second floor. And then it goes to, it says attic plan, storage attic. And
oh,
that's it.
you might be looking at the existing plans instead of the proposed.
Proposed renovation in addition. I don't know.
No, but
Existing, yeah, I see it.
yeah,
Existing third, yep.
yeah.
So now where are the other pictures?
Just keep going down. If you're
Oh,
in the
after, okay, because I see the building, I see the additions, all
yeah,
that, fine.
yeah, it's like a
Oh,
30-page
okay, thank
document,
you.
so
All
of
right,
course.
I didn't want to not have
The,
it in front of me.
the
Good, thank
best
you.
kind of slide to orient yourselves is this one because the entire building is pretty much in every setback. The red line is what our surveyor had to create in order to properly show all the side, front, and rear setbacks. It's it's odd. Basically, anything that abuts the public way, that's the front setback, and then opposite that is the rear setback, and then everything else is a side setback. This is something that kind of caught us off guard, I'd say, because when were designing this, it was kind of unclear as to what the setbacks which setbacks would be where. So this took some going back and forth with ISD, and this is a correct outline of showing all the setbacks for this property. And we wanted to do something proper. We didn't want to go so far into the front that it would not be kind of or oriented towards still the public way, because right now you can go from the public way and get onto that porch very easily, and it makes sense in terms of the actual aesthetics on the street. So we want to make a small addition, but an addition that makes sense to create some livable units up top.
And Madam, Zoning Board of Appeals, Madam Clerk, I'm sorry, and Madam Chairwoman, Mr. Ennis and I had many, many questions, I'm sorry, many discussions about this, and one of the big things is this, to kind of expand on what Garrett said earlier, these will be more units that families could really live in. They're not a lot of the, not like the micro units we're seeing or some of the studios or one beds. These will be much more, suitable for families and a time where, I hate beating the dead horse, but a housing crisis, as we constantly hear, these are 3 units that, we'll be adding to the housing inventory in Somerville. And
Thank you.
we're done with our presentation for now. We thought if the board had questions, maybe now is a better time for us to stop and us to answer whatever questions, concerns the board may have.
Great, thank you. Right now, I'd like to open it up to the public. So if, Kit, you could see who's out there in the matter of 7 Lewisburg Place, see if there are some comments or questions.
This is Kit. I see one person with their hand up. Lexi, if you could pull up the timer, and then we'll give Pen Chu 2 minutes to speak once we're ready. Okay, give me 1 second. All right, I'm going to allow Pen Chu to talk, and they'll be given 2 minutes. You should be all set.
Awesome.
Hello,
Hello, I'm Ben Chow.
welcome.
Can you all hear me?
Tell us name and address for the record.
For sure. I am Pen Chow. I live in 8 Autumn Street. My wife and I own the property. We've been in Somerville for 10 years, and we moved into 8 Autumn Street about 3.5 years ago.
Great. And what do you have to say about this project? Are you welcoming it or do you have a comment?
Yeah, we both really strongly support it. Garrett's done a great job showing us the plans all along, introducing himself to us when he first took ownership over the property and started the project. He showed us what the new addition is going to look like, and for what it's worth, it doesn't really affect how we would be able to enjoy our current property right now. And in addition, as I'm sure you all know, the property has been abandoned for quite a few years and it's become quite the rodent haven.
Yeah.
So we really appreciate Garrett and team's efforts to really try to beautify the neighborhood here. So
That's great to hear. Did you go to the neighborhood meeting?
I did, or my wife did, sorry, but yes, we
Good,
represented
great.
ourselves there.
I like to see participation like that. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming out
Appreciate it.
tonight as well.
Of course. Thank you so
Have a
much.
good one. Thank you. Kit, anybody else?
I don't see anyone else with their hand raised. I would just ask if anyone else would like to speak that they raise their hand.
If we don't get a response, we'll keep it open for a little bit in case somebody's getting home late from work or whatever would like to join us. And I'll open it up to the board for their questions and comments. Can I have our screen back? Garrett, thank you. So does anybody on the board have questions? Would you raise your hand, please? No. You happy with what you see? Yep. You positive, everybody? Yeah. CC, you all set too, hon? Great, Ian. Well, I guess then last call for the public portion. And if we don't see anybody, I'll close that. Kit?
This is Kit. There's no other raised hands.
Okay. So at this time, it's 6:19. We'll close the public portion. Let the record show that the board has all chimed in, and I'll have Ms. Brockelman make a motion and any comments and justifications for the approval. And I assume it is approval. They was got their thumbs up for the vote. So without further ado, Ms. Brockelman.
Okay, so following public testimony, review of the submitted materials, and deliberation of the required considerations outlined by the Somerville zoning ordinance, I make a motion to approve the special permit for 7 to 9 Lewisburg Place, incorporating the facts and findings of the staff report of July 29th, 2025, including the conditions.
Great. And the conditions can be found on page 3 of said report. Can I have a second, please, on the motion to approve?
Seconded.
Seconded by Zach Zaremba. All in favor, please, as we go around. Cece Daglian,
Aye.
Ian Fullerton,
Aye.
Zach Zaremba,
Aye.
Ian Brockelman,
Aye.
Susan Fontano, aye. Let the record show it was unanimous. 5 people voting. And let me see something here. I just got to check. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Vigorino, thanks for coming out. Garrett,
Thank
good luck.
you. You stuck with me all night tonight, ladies.
Yep,
and
thank you very
Oh,
much.
all right.
So I will-
there.
I will silence myself and wait for the next case, but thank you so much.
Okay.
We
All
appreciate
right,
it.
hon. Thank you. Okay. Let's see. So next, we're gonna go right to, I guess, 379. Pull that up. And again, let's see here. Other people for 379 here, we're gonna go right to it.
Madam Chairwoman, I would ask that you promote Will Chalifant from Khalsa Design. He is the architect. The applicant developer is here, but they don't have to be promoted. If there's questions for them, they can answer, but I think it'll be Mr. Chalifant and myself for right now.
Beautiful. And Ian, want to open the, want to go to this? Now, some of the, for the record, Ms. Brockelman's going to take care of everything, but just right out there, we had some cases open last week and one not, so she's going to address those issues as she goes along.
Yes, so
Yeah, fair, please,
I'm still going to read the 3 legal notices for 379 Somerville Ave. That's case 58, 59, and 60. But we
Wonderful.
will open case number 74 for the same address. Okay?
Great. Yep.
So ZP 250000/58 379 Somerville Ave. Brickstone Builders Corp. seeks relief from requirements for one or more ground story commercial spaces fronting the primary facade on a pedestrian street for 100% of the total width as required in SZO 2.4.5.B.2.A in the mid-rise 5, which is MR5 district, which requires a hardship variance. The next one is case 59. Again, 379 Somerville Ave, Brickstone Builders Corp. seeks relief from SZO 2.4.3.D.V as in Victor, which states mechanical units, in this case a transformer, are prohibited in the frontage area in the mid-rise 5 MR5 district, which requires a hardship variance. Number 60, Brickstone Builders Corp. seeks relief from ground story fenestration requirements of a 70% minimum on the primary facade as required in SZO 4.3.8.D, which requires a hardship variance. And then we're going to open case ZP 25-000074, which is again 379 Somerville Ave. Brickstone Builders Corp. seeks relief from the maximum front ground story setback allowed of 15 feet in the mid-rise 5 MR5 district as required by SZO 4.3.8.B, which requires a hardship variance.
Thank you. Now, let's see. Where are we gonna go from here? Who's gonna speak?
Madam Chairwoman, I will begin. I'm going to give a very brief little history lesson, let's just say, and then Will Chalifant will take over with some slides, and he has a distinct timeline as to what happened relative to why we're here. This was a matter that went before the planning board a few years back, special permit for the residential component and site plan approval. It was approved. Everyone was excited about the project. It was a net zero building. So architect worked with Eversource, and then the fun began. So this is 11 units, one of which is commercial, as you can see from the photo. They do have a temporary C of O. The building is all of the residential units are filled except for the 2 that are designated as affordable. I guess they're still working with the city on getting those tenants in. This is a building that is for rent. They're not condominiums. So I'm just, giving you that as the history. There are people living here. I believe there's some commercial tenants that are quite interested, but everything began when when we finished with approvals and so forth, when they were in the building permit stage. So at this point, I'm going to silence myself, and Will Chalifant will take over to give you the timeline of what occurred here and how we ended up here today. And then I'll come back and we can discuss some of, the variance components. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Ann. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. Nice to see you all again. It's been a while. My name again is Will Chalifant from Calsa Design. So this is our finished product right now that you're looking at. As many of you probably remember, this was Thunder Road, a single-story music club and bar restaurant that extended the entire width of the lot in the existing building, and this new building also fills the entire width of the lot, which I think is important as part of this process. So quickly, I'll be respectful of everyone's time, but just a timeline of what transpired here. And I do understand that the board has not seen this slideshow. I didn't send this to you ahead of time. I just completed it the other day, so I apologize for that, and I'll be happy to share it with you after this. So as Ann mentioned, early in July of 2021, the project was approved. The original plan for the transformer was to be vaulted in the sidewalk in front of the building, partially on our property, partially on public land. We continue those discussions with Eversource and that later that month. They're accepting of this, but we have to get approval from city engineering. At that time, it was deemed that there was a large sewer main going directly there that would prohibit us from putting the vault there. Later that month, we reached out to the head of planning, which at the time was George, just to have additional correspondence with him about this, as well as Brian Postlewaite in engineering. They had come up with thoughts of possibly putting the transformer in the basement. Eversource rejected this concept as it's not something that they do. So then we get to August. We're kind of at an impasse here. We're not sure what to do. So we reached out to Director Sarah Lewis to meet with her to see if we could address this administratively, because everyone's very eager to get this building going. We even discussed, there's at 65 Bow, you may recall, is the former gas station car shop. That's a new project that was going on. Their transformers in the rear. We had discussions with that developer. They were willing to share that location with us for our transformer because it's such a tight site. City was okay with this. Both developers were okay with this. Eversource was not okay with this. They reject this option. So then we explored other options of pad pole mounted transformers. Vaults are really the only thing that we could do as far as maintaining the existing design, but there was nowhere to put it. And the issue with putting a vault at surface level within our building is that we still had to have these clearance requirements from Eversource, which requires a 15-foot clear, et cetera. So the only way to do this was to carve out what we did and create this niche for the pad mounted transformer. So when this came to roost that this was the reality, in September of 2021, we had, I want to say, 3 to 4 meetings, Zoom meetings, because this was obviously during COVID, with the design team, head of planning, the developer, to sketch out options. What can we screen? How can we screen this? All of the screening options that we brought before Eversource were denied. They were unwilling to accept anything other than their exact requirements on these dimensional requirements for clearances around the transformer, vertical, horizontal clearances, et cetera. So, we discussed this with planning department to say, look, this is going to be a real issue because obviously this was going to be a net zero building, all electric. This is going to require a transformer. This is going to be the new reality for all of these projects in Somerville. Because there were a lot of net zero buildings on the board, still happening now under construction, some completed. And these transformers are an unfortunate reality. So we're going to have other problems here. So future problems in other projects. So we left that this was really kind of what we had to do. We, proceeded with our drawings as the drawings had already been completed previously with the assumption of the vault. We then had to change that to go to the pad mount as it's built today. So we submitted a building permit application and was granted the foundation permit. And eventually, this past July, we got a temporary certificate of occupancy. So I do apologize for the lengthy talk, but now I'll just quickly go through the plans. So on the left is the previously approved plan, and on the right is what was built. And this is the transformer with the alcove here and the enclosure in front of it. The original approved design on the left, obviously we had storefront across, residential entry on the left-hand side, nice commercial space, exit door over here. The result is obviously a much narrower commercial space presence along the street, and then the transformer and the 2 doors as previously designed. So obviously we've discussed some of the variances related to the fenestration and the glazing at the ground floor level. So then this is what was ended up being built, which was this steel gate structure to enclose it. And we have some photographs of the built conditions now. It was originally wrapped in a historic photo of Union Square, similar to another project this developer's done in Union Square. And, obviously there was pushback on that, and they wanted something in front of it. So this enclosure has been installed. And this is as it is today. So, you know, I understand there's a lot of frustration in the community about this. I don't think anyone as part of the development team is particularly ecstatic. This is how we ended up. I think it's telling that the commercial space is not completely rented out yet because partially of, you know, its lack of presence. And that was never the goal, obviously, of this project, but it's such a tight, constrained site. It's really unfortunate, but I know everyone's proud of how it came out despite this. And if, you know, the board is willing to look at this and accept this, you know, or if they want to look at other options, I did also put together a slide of other screening alternatives we did look at, and I can share that if you'd like, but I think I'd like to hear from the board first.
Okay, I think at this point, we will take a moment to see if there's anybody from the public here. Kit,
Chair Fontana, this is Kit. I don't see anyone with their hand raised, but if you would like to speak, just raise your hand. I
No?
don't see any raised
Okay.
hands at this time.
Were there any recent neighborhood meetings?
There were not, Madam Chairwoman. This is, I know when we did I was the attorney and Mr. Chalfant was the architect. We had a couple of neighborhood meetings and we had neighborhood support. You know, and the neighbors, I think, watched this building go up. They knew who the developer was. Developers done other projects in the city, and you know, he made his presence known. I don't want to speak out of turn, but I don't think we heard any negativity from the neighborhood.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, no,
people have moved in there and they're
Yeah.
calling it their home, and everyone that lives there is extremely happy. You know, they're anxious to hopefully, you know, have this come to a conclusion. You know, and I don't know, I can talk a little bit about the variance situation at this juncture because, you know, when we do these things as an attorney coming before you, there's a criteria we all know, and I don't think it's a public detriment. I mean, there's no one here speaking against it, and you know, the developer has not got negative input. I don't think staff has, or they would have, you know, probably let us know about it even this evening. You know, it's providing housing. There's 2 affordable units, but the biggie, the white elephant in the room, you know, we have 3 things here. Is it soil conditions, topography, or this, you know, lot shape? I think because of where the transformer is now, I think that has presented as we have an odd shaped lot. And I've worked many, many years with Will Chalfant on projects. Even on this one, you know, once I was out of it, you know, I heard from him more when this issue came up. You know, he's always the first one to try to come up with some way to solve it. I've seen him do it at UDC meetings. I've seen him doing it at the planning board. You know, I've seen him do it before you folks. And, you know, we look at it, you know, Mr. Sassoon and Mr. Toplias, who are part of the development team, are here this evening. You know, if there are direct questions for them, but they have worked with the best that they could. I mean, this is a net zero building, and Eversource, this isn't the only project. I don't think that may be coming before you with a similar issue. And you know, development teams are trying to solve them to the best of their ability. So, you know, I respect the request, that I do think we meet the requirements of a variance. And if there's anything further you'd like to hear from myself or Mr. Chalfant, you know, we're here this evening. And as I said, the developer as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so if we can have a screen, has everybody seen, well, we got these, these are newer pictures than we have. So you're saying what you're on screen here is the one with just the rack and it's wide open in between, and it's got some historic painting on the transformer. Who did not want that? Will,
I believe that the city said there needs to be some enclosure in front of it, and our initial pushback was that Eversource doesn't allow something that's shown like this. I mean, in full truth, I believe that they said, look, we'll be okay with this because we understand there's a lot of pushback, but we do not accept things like this in front of it. They want full clearance. I think
oh,
we
I
can,
see.
but so, I think there was concerns over, you're creating a place in the back maybe for garbage to collect, I mean, we understand. Well, I've already talked too much tonight. I'm sorry.
All right, okay, so, I'm gonna open it up to the board for their questions and comments. If we
Um,
can have us, if I can have the screen back so I can see if somebody wants to speak.
Chair
Thank you.
Fontana, this is Kit.
Yes, Kit.
I was just informed that there was a public comment that I am sorry did not make it into your packet. I did not receive it before. Right now it came via email and it did come in the time frame. If I could read that into the record.
Sure, why don't you do it right now?
Sure, thank you.
Push it
And I'm
open.
sorry that this didn't make it into your packet. This is from a Nathan Anderson. And he says, as somebody who lives nearby 367 Somerville Ave, I've watched this project develop. That's pretty disappointing. Just for clarification, he had asked for a question of why the hardship variance was applied for now. And to continue the comment, the way they have set it up now seems out of place. It looks like a garbage bin storage space or something out in the open in front. I almost prefer the painted transformer without the covered fence hiding it. The way I read the application, this sounds like a problem of their own doing, and I see no reason to support a hardship variance at this point. A lot of blame is placed on Eversource when it seems like the developer didn't think everything through and get a proper prior approval. I'm unable to make the meeting on the 16th, but would like my comments noted. Nathan Anderson. But that is the only public comment that we've received via email.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So, we'll get into this more as we're all chatting. I don't want to say too much. I'd like everybody to, so who'd like to speak? Who has it? Yes, Zach.
I have a couple questions. Maybe this was established, but I'd like it to be a little bit more clear. Why this issue with the transformer not being able to be placed underground because of the plumbing wasn't identified earlier in the project and sort of happened after the fact. I'm just not really clear on that, like how an engineer didn't see this coming when you guys were trying to establish this net zero project.
Ms. Vigorito? Do you want to answer that?
Apologies, it wouldn't unmute myself. I believe Alon Sassoon wants to speak to this because this came during the building permit process and he was very hands-on at that point. So I think, I don't know if Mr. Sassoon can unmute himself or if he has to be made a panelist in order to speak.
Kit?
This is Kit.
Lexi?
I'm promoting Elon to panelist, and he should be able to speak shortly.
Thank you. Welcome, Miss Lewis.
Hi, Madam Chair. How are you?
Good, good. How you doing?
I'm good. Oh,
I
there we
haven't
are.
seen you for a while.
I know. I miss all those meetings when they were in person.
I know it. I know it.
They
So
were
what,
fun.
can you put some light on this, how this started to evolve and it started to deteriorate?
Sure. So when we bought the Thunder Road nightclub and then COVID hit, and originally we were going to bring back the nightclub in the building, and then that didn't work out. The owner wanted to go somewhere else. So Will did a beautiful building, a beautiful design, and then we tried everything with Eversource. So to answer the gentleman who said why didn't they put it under the ground, there is a giant sewer under the ground there. So they wouldn't let us put the transformer under the ground. So if engineering will not let you put it in the ground there. So then we had meetings with Sarah Lewis. And we said, okay, Sarah, can I put it across the street on the island? There's an island there that says Union Square. Nope, you can't put it across the street in the island. I said, okay, can I use Scott Zink's, the building 2 stories down, the new building on Bow Street? Why can't we share the same transformer? He's putting it in front of his building. He said we can all share the same transformer. Why can't we share the same transformer to get power? Nope. Sarah tried. We all tried together, and Eversource said, no, you can't share the same transformer. Can we do a can? Can we put it on a pole in front of the building? The can. And this went on for 8 months. Nope, you can't put it on a can. It's ugly. City said you can't put it on the can. So we couldn't put it in the rear of the building because Eversource couldn't get their trucks there. We tried to put it in the basement. There was nowhere to put this transformer in the entire building except in that spot. And Sarah's like, well, if that's the only place, we started the project, but we didn't file the variance, which was our mistake. But everybody knew where the transformer was going when we started the project. We just didn't get all the paperwork going. So it was an 8-month conversation and a holdup on us building. So it wasn't for lack of trying and effort.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody stay on board here, will you please?
Sure.
And Sarah and whoever else is on the team that can help us with info, because that's where this goes way back. I remember when it first started, and I remember Thunder Road, and I remember the whole thing. So this is like a little refresher course here. Read through this today. And so who on the board here, do you have some questions that you'd
If I
like
could
to
just
ask?
respond to Zach's first question, because I don't think it got completely answered as far as how the
Sure, please
engineering.
do.
So there were engineering plans, civil site plans done and submitted as part of the special permit process going through the planning board. City staff does review that, and I'm not trying to place it on them at all, but I think there was probably a lack of information on the invert height of those sewer pipes as to, whether or not that vault could actually go there, because it was never flagged as we as the applicant don't have city information on all of the infrastructure necessarily. Now, whether or not civil could have found that some way, yeah, there's a valid question there, but as Alon said, we really exhausted every option to try to find this, but sorry, I wasn't sure if you got.
Well, I just want to clarify though, this is the first knowing that the transformer was not going to be able to be placed underground, and after exploring all your other options, as you shared, this is the first time this is coming to the board as basically what you're saying is the only option to deal with this transformer right now.
Well, it was
Okay.
agreed, but the planning knew about it when we did it. Sarah knew, and we all agreed on the location. I spoke to George, Proakis, everyone. So everyone knew about the location. We just didn't know we had to file the variance until when we were done with the building. And they're like, oh, no, you got to file a variance. I'm like, oh.
ISD can't release that permit without planning sign off on that. So, I believe that's.
And just to be clear, they were issued a building permit. It wasn't like they did this without a permit. They have a building permit. They have a temporary CO for all of the units in the building, the 10 residential and the 1 commercial as well. But this really came about, I would say, about a month ago, Will, that, we had maybe a little more than a month ago, we had a pre-submittal meeting discussing this.
Well, it's been discussed for a while now.
Right. But I'm saying they told us we needed to come to the board for the variances.
And I would just like to say one more thing. I'd like to disagree with the comment because although I like to wrap the transformers, and I thought it looked really pretty with the wrap, and the city said, no, we want you to screen it. I think the screening came out nice. We actually matched the color with the actual color of the balconies, the siding. I thought it looked spot on. So.
Zach, you all set? Zach,
Yeah, for now. Thanks.
okay, Ann Fullerton, please. Ann,
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think we all sympathize with the rock and the hard place with the transformer. the issue that the board, I suspect the other board members are having is that unfortunately, we're the resource where people come to ask for forgiveness after the permit was issued, the change was made in the field, and we're left with very little options at that point because frequently the forgiveness we're asked for property is for a property that's already occupied and complete. So that's where the frustration from my perspective, and I suspect other board members' perspective, is coming from, since this issue has been known. I don't have the slide that Mr. Chalfant showed with the timeline, but I think it was 2021 when a final location was chosen. So, you know, I think that we understand that planning was involved in the discussion. I understand that. I understand there were no other choices. I don't like being put in a position where there are no choices left for us except a screening choice. I mean, honestly, that's sort of not much of a choice at this point to help out the community, right? So I disagree that you had a unique site. The topography of your site is not unique. To be frank, I think the only claim you have for a unique site is a civil issue that was undiscovered until you had full information from the city. There was nothing unique about the topography or the size of the site.
Anybody else? Yes, Ann Brockelman?
Sure. I agree that this actually is not a unique site. It's a typical Somerville site. I guess, and maybe this is lessons learned now, you know, underneath the existing sidewalk, the proposed location underneath the existing sidewalk, at what point did you do your due diligence that there would be a nice spacious area underneath an existing city sidewalk for your transformer, and who, when do you maybe request a utility survey or offer to do a detailed utility survey? I mean, I'm an architect. They're never right? Things are always 5 feet off. That's actually quite common. When you dig it up, then you find things aren't actually where the survey says. But I guess, what would you have done differently? Are you given the survey by the city and then you check it, or could you ask the city to survey city property? You know, some destructive survey, you might have to dig stuff up. I'm just interested in that part of the process as well. And I'm sure you would be, Mr. Sassy, moving forward with perhaps more electrified buildings in a city with, you just have to assume underneath public part of the city is just chock full of stuff, right? Utilities. Is there a process by which you can commission a more detailed utility survey
Mr. Sassoon or Will?
instead of just right at when you're digging it up to install?
Yeah, so the first is, in order for Eversource to look at this, we typically have to create a work order, and for the work order, they need, it seems like they need certain assurances the project's moving forward, whether that's planning board approval or you know, permit in application form. I know the city's talked with Eversource and has been trying to get a dialogue with them about engaging people sooner, because this is obviously going to keep happening, and I'm not trying to ignore the question about how did this happen in the
Sure,
first
yeah.
place. But I mean, look, hindsight, this should have had a little more due diligence. I think our real shock was, we've done projects with utility easements before with the transformer on the other property. That's not like a groundbreaking idea. So we always thought at the back of our mind, we could utilize this project at 65 Bow and do this, or put the transformer in the backyard and create an easement from that property to it, because we're completely landlocked by buildings on either side. it's sort of a vertically, that part of Bow Street's sort of like a pizza pie. They all taper back towards each other. And so that
Mm.
side of 65 Bow, there is an access point. So again, obviously that didn't work out. But to your question, I mean, it's certainly changed our approach to this as far as where we locate these transformers, because it's becoming obviously a necessity. And yes, it should, in hindsight, it should not have been assumed that it could be partially on there, despite people seeing it for a while like that. But again, that's.
But what about my question on a detailed utility survey of city property? How and when does that happen? Is this question for staff or for the architect?
So I will just say, we have not necessarily engaged that. I know our mechanical engineers, electrical engineers will typically reach out to local municipalities and find out, if there's adequate, for sprinklers, a flow test, obviously, if there's what the power is in the street, the existing utilities. So, in some respects, not to blame them, but I sort of lean on them a little bit to tell me what's going to be needed for some of those aspects, because honestly, we'd done projects of that size before that hadn't required a transformer, but then, the net zero part obviously triggered that. So
I think the interesting question for me is, again, for the developer going forward, if you want to build more net zero or all electric buildings on a tight urban site with zero lot line, right? What do you do? And Eversource requires it to be easily accessible from the public right of way. Is that
correct.
what, with clearance around working clearances, including 15 feet high? I'm not sure what that's for, but that's in your
It's for the
alcove.
boom. It's for the boom that drops the
From the top?
transformer.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's still a question. I mean, if as a developer, there's always a risk that you can't put it in front of the building under the sidewalk, which you assume to be chock full of sewer lines, conduits, what have you.
And if I could just quickly, Alon, just step into that point. A lot of the zoning, which makes total sense in these areas, they want to create a street model where all the, buildings are up front. So your short answer is, well, we recess the building 10 to 15 feet back to allow for that vault to be in that frontage area. Now that area can't be then covered with pavers. It's going to have 3 manholes on it, but at least it's, in the floor level. But then I think in a lot of cases that would actually trigger a variance from the zoning because of the max setback that is allowed in certain MRs, which is, again, something that we've kind of discussed with planning, that we need to kind of look at this a little bit, because so that this does not keep happening.
Yeah. Okay. Can I continue with a few other
Yeah,
questions?
all right.
Sure.
Sure.
So the SK5, sheet SK5, approved ground floor plan versus built. The built ground floor plan, that is a permit drawing? That is an ISD approved permit drawing, or is it an as-built, what ended up happening?
No,
'Cause you've been in
from
talks of planning for a while.
I'm sorry, SK5. SK5 is the fenestration. Is yours just a floor plan comparison?
Yeah, two approved ground floor plan, right, which was your ideal project, and then the built ground floor plan. Is the built ground floor plan an as-built or is that the permit drawing, where everybody knew about it except ZBA?
It's
I wasn't
both.
clear on that.
It's both. It was submitted as part of the permit drawings,
Okay,
but
so
that's
it's not
also
like you
what's been
built
built.
it differently from permitting.
Sorry?
It's not like you built differently than permitted.
No.
Correct. Correct.
Okay, we're just the last city department to know about this.
Correct.
Okay. And then the alcove requirements, I saw you cut and paste from Eversource. I'm just looking through that. So they are satisfied that alcove shall be 3-hour rated. Is this when it's inside? Or it's just the brick wall?
So that
That's
brick
rated.
wall on all 3 sides and the ceiling above it that's partially above it is all 3-hour rated.
Yeah, okay.
Basically a bomb shelter right there, unfortunately. Well, fortunately.
And then they panic latch hardware and give them the lock. So they would have the master key wherever it's
That's
locked
my
away.
understanding. Alon would probably be able to answer that better than I do. Does Eversource have the key to that gate, Alon?
They do, yes.
And then my last quick comment is that I don't think aesthetically this is the best you can do. I think it does look like a trash enclosure. So there were, looking at other drawings. You know, I wish you had, do they say you can't make the enclosure a certain height? Because I wish you had pulled it up to maintain that height instead of, it still looks, you know, kind of slapped on, even though the colors match kind of the industrial aesthetic. So I think we could do better aesthetically. To me, it still looks like a trash screen. So, but that's, you know, that's, and that is how, that would be the aspect of it that impacts, you know, pedestrian enjoyment of the cityscape, right? Of pedestrians circulating around the city, scale, kind of being conscious of what is green, assuming there's trash behind there or not. So I think I would still take exception with the way it's been detailed out, but I'll stop my questions. And I do agree that the ungated is nicer.
Yeah,
So
thank you, Ann. Thank you for the questions and comments. Next on the board, raise your hand, please. Cecia. Miss Cecia Daglin, there you
Yes.
go.
I'm curious whether there was any consideration given to even pushing it back a few feet so that the type of screening that was created was more in the plane of the existing storefront, and so it could be integrated a little bit better into the building.
So, sorry, I hate to jump back to sharing. I just think it's easier. As far as shifting it back, I think
The
this is a
stairs.
very tight building. The units are very small. The circulation space is tight. We're trying to maintain a usable retail space. I guess in theory, this whole thing could have slid back a foot or two, but it sort of has a domino effect for the whole building. You know, I suppose if we'd come to the board first before anything of this had happened, we could have looked at an alternative approach to this in a little more detail. But short answer, very little space to shift that back.
Thank you.
Cecia, that's it?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to support, and I agree with Anne that there could be improvement made to the screening to make it just a little bit more pleasant to look at. And I disagree with the planning board's assessment in their write-up that this is not a detriment to the public. I find it very, very much a detriment to the public enjoyment of the public way. I walk by here frequently, and I don't think we should support this being a solution to how the city is going to deal with these transformers going forward. This being this type of screening and sort of eyesore. So.
Okay. I had a couple of comments. You know, years ago, I have a general comment about the utilities, because I remember when this case started, roughly. I can remember certain things. And to me, at the end of the day, because Eversource didn't want to budge on certain things, it's made it a hardship variance to me. You know, we talk about the shape, the soil, the topography. I think what the public utility has done has created that in the first criteria. And I've worked with, years ago, Verizon had to come up to the Zoning Board of Appeals for the towers, you know, the antennas. And historic preservation used to weigh in, you know, we'd weigh in. We didn't like the way it looked at the top of this steeple, this building. We had them making things look like bricks, towers in the chimneys, behind walls. And, you know, Verizon really was trying their best to do as much as they could with the suggestions we had. And at the end of the day, they still rule the roost. And it's still happening today. I don't care whether it's Verizon, Eversource, National Grid. When they come into the towns and they're doing these buildings and developments, sometimes it's the luck of the draw who you get. I think the building is attractive. And I just don't like that that's that covering. I think the transformer's attractive. I love Union Square is they like their art and they do a lot of, you know, historic paintings and stuff. They've got a lot of things going on there. And if you walk all through it, there's always something. And throughout the whole city, I mean, up and down Broadway here, we've got all kinds of art stuff on the transformers. So as far as dressing up the transformer, I see nothing wrong with that. They've dug their heels in, whomever it is, and doesn't want to give you a break on this. And I think it's terrible because in these times we're looking for cleaner energy. We're asking builders to go electric, no fossil fuel, no this, no that. I work up in Lexington and it's the same thing up there. And I'm telling you one thing, if you put up or you shut up. And we've been having power outages a lot up in Lexington because Lexington's still trying to go green also. They're trying to do electric. We have a couple of restaurants next door to me, brand new, 5-star, and they're going, all their stores, all their stoves, their ovens, everything is electric. And there's a couple like that. And what's happened is we're getting power outages. In the last month and a half, we had like 6 power outages. My business cannot operate without power. I have a hair salon. We're dealing in chemical work. And we're not talking a haircut and you lose your lights. You were supposed to get a blow dry, you know, for a big fancy thing, and you lose your power. It's not that at all. We're doing chemical work. Timing is of its essence. We have to know what we're doing. These people are chemists. Boom, the power went out. I've lost days of work. Clients getting all bent out of shape. This is what I'm taking umbrage here. And, you know, maybe I'm being irrational, but I think the building is an improvement to the area. I remember what was there before. I think that it's too bad the transformer has to go there and why they couldn't share with somebody else. I think that my input on this is these folks and the staffing of the zoning board, the planning department, Sarah loses days, and everybody else that was on with her. They all worked really hard hand in hand with these folks. And we just didn't get the right mix for the powers to be for the utility company. And that's the rub to me, how I interpret it. I think if you go by and you see, gee, this worked out great. And you know what? As Cece is saying, if we approve something like this, if we say yes, I think this situation is a hardship because of what's happened. And I think as we go forward as a city and as a zoning and as a planning and engineering and everything else, we as a city got to get on board and put our heads together in how we can figure out going forward in a positive, effective way that's going to work. It's going to be energy efficient. It's going to be pleasantly nice to the people who see it. The utility can still get added if they have to, if there's an emergency. But I think the city, now that we see this situation and how it evolved, we should really get some departments, get a little group going here, a little table committee to sit back and say, hey, as we go forward, yes, Sarah Lewis has her hand up. Sarah?
Sorry, Madam Chair, I didn't want
I
to interrupt you.
Going on, yeah.
No, I wanted to give you some updates. So when Will and I were going back and forth with the sketches back in 2021, I did run it up the flagpole. George was aware of this, and we knew the plans. We did know the plans needed to be changed, but none of the paperwork, as Elon had said, none of the paperwork had been done at that point in time. It did initiate. So when I became director, this project did initiate. We have monthly meetings between PPZ, OSE, Sustainability and Environment, and Engineering with Eversource every month to try to get to this, because we don't want to see this happen again, obviously, for all the reasons everybody has said this evening. It is difficult working with a large utility company, and there's difference between the people that we end up meeting with, who are the sort of the government liaison folks, versus the engineers who are actually in the field that Will and the developers, the architects and the developers, have to interact with. So there is some, I'm still trying to figure out, sort of where that miscommunication is. At the meantime, on the city side, to your point, we have been investigating. There is a 12-inch sewer underneath the sidewalk in front of this building that's shown on the original plot plan. But how we can now realizing that this is a problem, and we're an old city, we have compact streets, we do have a lot of utilities underground, but we are doing studies as to, whereas Eversource shut down the proposal of sharing the transformer before, we're having conversations with them now about potential neighborhood transformers. So the idea that there might be, in the back of a property, there is a shared easement for utilities and things like that. So we're working through what those requirements might be, and then we'll start looking at places across the city, because in situations where we have tight infill lots, this is, this is unfortunately what we're stuck with. If it is of help, perhaps there, there are some design issues that can be addressed. But this is a tough situation, and we are still pushing on the city side to try to make sure that this doesn't happen again, because the chances of it happening again are pretty high, given all the rest of the
it has to be.
goals.
It has to be. As we go, new buildings converting, old buildings ripping down, but this is what we have now. This is what these folks have now. And hey, did they want this in their front lobby? No, they didn't want it either. They lost footage. They lost money.
Yeah.
So I want to know, is because we're voting on this, and how we can go forward. I mean, it's built, there are people there, if there's a need. You got 2 affordable units that are coming on board, that we can get some people in there that really need it. The clock's ticking. It's like you're even saying, we get together, we do this, we talk this, we do tick-tock. The people that don't have a place to live, or the people have all this money invested, we want to embrace development and people growing and making us put families in and sustainability and et cetera. So we have to go forward. My thing at this point, and I could, who's ever listening, or you guys might think I'm crazy, but I feel it's there. I feel that they exhausted their options. I don't think they were sitting on their hands, and I don't think you were either. And like you say, George was on board and all this other stuff. It was during the pandemic, or like between it and right after it. And things just didn't operate. They're still not up to par in places. We're still not operating at our full potential. I think that we've gotta keep working with Eversource as we go forward for new projects, but also how do we rectify, how can we make everybody happy and make this go forward? And this has been the sacrificial lamb, of course, because of the transformers, what I'm saying. So I hate to see something that's been built. We've dealt with this architectural firm before. We've dealt with Mr. Sassoon before. Sarah Lewis has been with us for years. I think what everybody's saying is the truth. And I think we've got to figure out how we can maybe go forward with this tonight, but then how we're going to camouflage it and make it more attractive and still safe. That's the whole thing, and have accessibility for Eversource. And Fullerton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A question for Ms. Lewis or Lexi. This is supposed to go before the planning board tomorrow night. What is the issue specifically that's going to be addressed in front of planning tomorrow night? I mean, obviously there's a transformer and it's a change of the plan that was approved, but what is the question that's going to go before the planning group tomorrow night?
Lexi?
Actually, I'll let Alexi answer that one. I believe it's a plan revision, but Lexi will know better than I will on that one.
Yes, it's a plan revision. So they submitted site plan approval back in May, I believe. And then we have to determine whether it's de minimis or a major amendment, and it was determined a major amendment. So now it has to go in front of the board to approve the changes that happened after the last approval from planning board.
And Lexi, do you anticipate they would have any comments about the screening and what exactly? I see Miss Lewis nodding her head. So I guess I'm wondering how deep as the zoning board, we want to dig into that solution. I think, we all agree that we'd like to see something that was more like public art as a screen. Although I think Chair Fontano has expressed that she also finds the condition without a screen acceptable. But I just don't want to create a condition that then makes it more difficult for the planning process.
Mm-hmm.
Through the chair, if I may, I believe we can add a condition that says, sort of dependent on, sort of these hardship variances are approved, dependent on design mitigation applied by the planning board as part of the major amendment. I think we can do that makes these contingent on those mitigations without us having to dig into the design elements this evening, and let the planning board talk about the streetscape from that perspective.
Madam Chair.
Yes, please. Ann Brockelman. Ann Fullerton, you happy with that? You done? Okay.
Yes.
Ann Brockelman.
So, I mean, at this point, there's CFO, people are living in here, right? So how often does Eversource come and service this? Yearly, monthly?
I believe only if something is a
Wrong.
problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
And in looking at this more, I mean, it can be out in the open, right? Like in your backyard per Eversource, as long as you have those clearances, 4 feet, 4 feet, 4, 4, 4, 15, and then
Mhm.
10 in front. Is that right? but then I think you're taking this alcove definition literally. I think this is a hybrid situation. So if it can be wide open, the alcove is a vault
In
solution,
itself.
right? You're half vault, half alcove. I don't think you need the front at all. My vote would be remove the screening. Done, because it's like half, the front half complies with the open air requirement and the back half complies with the vault. I don't think you're not complying with what they need and they're able to work. Which is what they have, a clear, free, and safe access. And, you know, I guess it's for the city. At what point do you want Eversource to dictate our streetscape everywhere? They're not holding anything up. The building works. So, you know, I wouldn't say anything if it was not there the next day I walk down the street. I mean, so that's
Right.
one. Can I make my second? That's my main point. My second point is if we were going to go down the path
Ann Fullerton after Ann Brockelman. Go ahead, Ann.
how to detail this thing, what's built of the screening also doesn't match your drawings either. So I was trying to compare that. You know, the screen is actually tucked. Where's your enclosure photos? So if you wanted to
That's
go down
K8.
better detailing, a more beautiful screen, for lack of a better word. In the plan, it has it sticking out the screen, but then in the photos, it looked like you had to avoid some conduit. So, which leads me to think that, you know, between design and fabrication of the screen, there could have been more design rigor with the fabrication process. So if you wanted a new screen, I will look at it more. Yeah, okay, my photos just came up. So it's pushed back more, right? Because you had some, is that a meter? I don't know what that is on the corner.
There's a gas meter. It's also,
Yeah,
it's effectively the public sidewalk. We're trying
Yeah.
to keep it tight to it. So
yeah. So your property line is on the brick area.
yes, yeah, the pavers. Yep.
And up, is there a curb cut then they need free access to park a truck? Oh, there's a little cherry tree or something.
There's an existing curb cut to the left for the property next door. That's not our property.
Okay, so I mean, in looking more at the architectural detailing, it looks like the difficulty is that your pier on the right side where your door is forward, right? I couldn't tell. Oh, the brick pier on the left side. So you're trying to negotiate, then it became an L, plus you have your utility.
Yeah.
So if you want to go down that path, there's some, you know, more clever design thinking. And I think is not great is where it cuts, because it's such a nice tall, you have the 15 feet required ceiling height, right? Because Somerville wants elegant, tall ground floor, and then this holds it down. But then if you made it taller, you know, it would be have to be more structural, taller door, stiffer, then there's other complications. So I do sympathize, but my vote is to not have anything, because I do think you comply.
Yeah.
The front is the garden, transform the garden, and the back is the alcove. So I don't think Eversource is not going to have some board deliberation where they force you guys to. It's just, I think it's up to the developer what they want to do.
Yeah, I mean, if I had my vote, I'd remove the screen and make the whole alcove like a mural. But the problem is,
Yeah, like that, yeah.
the challenge with that is, and that mural could be free, Alon, by the way, someone could do that for free. But there's, you know, you don't want to encourage people to like walk behind the transformer.
Yes,
Right.
exactly.
There
Agreed,
needs to be
yeah.
some sort of, you know, maybe it's a couple bollards. I don't
Yeah.
know. But then again, it gets with the Eversource.
We end up, you
You
know.
got to kiss the ring of the utility company. So
Yeah, so that's kind of what I'm bristling against, kissing the ring of the utility company. Well put, thank you.
Ann Fullerton, you had your hand up?
Yeah, Madam Chair, thank you. I mean, I guess I'm also fine with the intention of removing the screen, but I want to build in the ability for planning to consider the streetscape. And I get that they don't want somebody making their home behind the transformer. I think that's the issue, not somebody walking behind, right? So I think that we're in a position where, you know, we just, Sarah gave us a fairly good condition earlier that we could modify, saying that, you know, it's acceptable to remove the screen, or based on planning review, provide a screen that provides more public art, or as per planning direction, something along those lines. Would that be agreeable to other board members?
I like the idea of they did the art on the transformer. And if you're saying we want to keep things out, like they were talking about litter and stuff getting in there, well, that you could have the building to be in charge of making sure that's nice and clean. But with the other issues that you mentioned, I never even thought of. We could keep something like this going and do art on that. I think that's just kind of, I don't know if I like the gray or what it's, you know, I didn't even think of a dumpster thing or anything like that. It's just, it's a utility, you know, area. And if we could have enhanced it better, but before we even get there, we have to turn around to the board and say, well, what do you think? Is this a hardship? I think after listening to the testimony tonight, I think it is. You know, I'd be bummed out if I was like investing in this and going back all these years and dealing with different people, the pandemic, the head executive director's gone, you know, Sarah's on board, other people. It's just so much changed and so many people are involved. And yet I really, really feel that you guys just didn't get the luck of the draw on the person you were dealing with that represented the utility company. It's happened to all of us, you know, whether it's a cop for something or an inspector for something, or work on your house, or asking a neighbor for something. If you don't just hit it off, you're dead meat. You're just dead meat. You can stand on your head and it doesn't matter. I think this is something, though, we kind of allowed to happen again. We got to figure out as a city, and Sarah said they're working on that with the different departments and people who know this stuff. They know the rules and regulations, the dangers and stuff like that, to go forward, because we want it. If that's what the city wants and the state wants, they want us doing this green bit, you know, energy, you know, electric, all electric and stuff. We've got to have a plan in place. So when it goes to the planning board, comes to zoning board, people coming off the street, a developer to go to the planning or say, hey, we got a plan we want to talk about. We've got to have answers. We're professionals. You know, this can't be haphazard, and we can't do the luck of the draw that, you know, who's ever saying this and that and this and that, that we're dealing with street people, you know, construction, sewers. It could be anything at this point. Everything's trying to go underground. So I think that we've got to, as a city, take on the responsibility of making our house right as we go forward. So we're prepared to deal with these difficulties as they come to us, and we can be real professional and effective and efficient. But for tonight, we got to figure out, and listening to the board earlier, it didn't sound like you guys were very happy. And I'm sorry, I don't mind approving it with some conditions with the planning board and doing that stuff going forward. I agree with that. But at least let them, you know, keep on going in a positive fashion. Anybody else have a comment? Cecia? Yes, hon?
I really appreciate the comments you made, Chair Montano. I kind of feel like the zoning should be the last board to hear the case. But you know, I'm just putting that out there. I'm also a little reluctant to make these people come back. Maybe the board, because this is sort of an important issue, and it'd be good to be filled in on that.
Well, Ian, I just want to say one thing, please. Years ago, a while back, before we became the first, we handle hardship variances, and comes to us very early in the process for the applicants was because they did so much work. And then towards the end, they had to come to us for the hardship variance and we'd say no. And they'd say, hey, we invested hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars in this project. Why, if we knew this back then? So that's when it was changed and we were put at the head of the pile. See, now this case a little different. That's, if I remember, the city staff people can correct me on that. If I'm wrong, please do. Sarah, wasn't that right? Wasn't that part of what happened? How the hardship variances became first?
Yeah, basically, if a hardship variance, that's where the difficult decisions are made because of the state criteria. If a project does not receive a hardship variance, then it is non-compliant to move through the rest of the process.
Thank you. So that's how that happened. Ann Brockelman.
Looking at the relief that's required here, I mean, none of it relates to how the gate looks. So
No.
that's not really in our purview. I mean, usually, we consider this streetscape and the applicant kind of tries to humor us with our design suggestions, but it's really the fact that we don't have full frontage. It's really the fact that they did a brick alcove that's within our purview, right? Not full frontage. Fenestration, they could have done a 3-hour window, I guess, at the brick, which is very expensive, 3-hour window through, and that's how they could have done the fenestration. So that's a financial hardship, if that even exists. Fire rated stairwells kind of thing. Maximum ground story setback. So what's within our purview is just the fact that the brick jogged back. And, if we agree that that's really the only solution and we're allowing that brick jog to remain, maybe does planning like to discuss aesthetics more? We could leave it to them. So we've been discussing the gate a lot, but that's really not within, how the gate and the screening
Right.
looks, not really what's in front of us right now.
So what was your final question about the zoning board, about the planning board?
Well, would they weigh in on that and Ann Fullerton was asking about that.
So
What are they approving?
yeah, would Lexi or Sarah want to answer that?
Madam Chair, I can answer that. Yeah, they will consider the streetscape and the impact that it might have on the neighborhood. So and they will discuss the design issues. So they are very likely to require some additional mitigation, maybe screen redesign. I am guessing. And I never want to put words in a board's mouth. You are all independent bodies, but the personalities on the planning board, I think, will want to revisit some of the design issues. And sort of, and that's what I said, if you want that peace of mind, adding the condition that, sort of says that any, sort of the design changes could, you have concerns, but those can be addressed at the planning board's level, because it is not, you are correct, Anne, it is not within the purview to sort of get into the design issues here.
Right. Thank you. So where are we? What do you want to do? Pleasure of the board here. Are you willing to, Zach, is that hand up?
Yeah,
Is
I was
your
just
hand
gonna, yes, I was just gonna say, I'm ready to vote to approve this with the condition that it's explored further, the design by the planning board. At the end of the day, we want to add housing to Somerville. We want to do green housing in Somerville. The majority of people are not even going to notice this. It has no real detriment to the neighborhood. I mean, if anything, it's a detriment to the building and to the building owners because they lost commercial space. But we've been talking about this for a while, but really the bird's eye view is that this is a good thing overall, to encourage housing and to encourage green housing, and hopefully in the future there's going to be clearer parameters as to how to deal with transformers and green housing. But it's not going to happen tonight, so I'm ready to vote and create the path of least resistance to getting this over with some design input without getting bogged down in more bureaucracy.
Great, thank you. Anybody else have a closing comment they want to make? Are you ready to vote? You ready to do this tonight? Yes, and Fullerton's got a thumbs up. Ann Brockelman, you ready to vote? Yep, I am too. Okay, I don't know how this is gonna go. You guys willing to take our vote tonight? You ready to go forward tonight? And
Madam Chairwoman, could you poll first? Because my concern is if there was something else we could do, we'd come back, but I just, I think I know which way Mrs. Embry is gonna vote, and I'm thinking I know what you're gonna do just by listening, but I'm a little concerned with the others, if that's okay, Madam Chairwoman, just to be safe.
Well, we don't usually do that.
I know, I
Ann
just,
Brockelman's
it's such an awkward situation. It's
You don't like just, you're
so
not
awkward all night.
do the roll of the dice, huh? Ann Brockelman has her hand up first and then Ann Fullerton.
I think it would be good to discuss, I mean, I'll say that I would be in favor of voting to support the hardship variance, just to be clear. But I think we should discuss we have to do each one separately, each case, there are 4.
Yep.
The criteria may all be the same, so we would, but can we discuss how the board feels the criteria is fulfilled? 1, 2, 3. 1 is special circumstances related to soil shape or topography or parcel of land or the unusual character of an existing structure. I mean, I guess the original plan was to put it under the sidewalk. So that was an unforeseen condition where there was not enough clear space in the sidewalk. So that is existing site conditions, shape, topography. Anyone else want to add to that? Criteria 1.
All right, 1 second though. As we go forward, let's take a little break. So we know number 1, we're gonna say the shape of the topography and, okay. Ann Fullerton, you had something you wanted to say. I'm sorry.
That's okay, Madam Chair. I can wait until we're done discussing criteria.
Okay, who wants to add to the criteria? Number 2,
Number 2, literal enforcement
yeah,
of the provision of this ordinance for the district where the subject land or structure is located would involve substantial hardship, financial or otherwise, to the petitioner due to said special circumstances. Literal enforcement would involve substantial hardship. I mean, I think we feel like there's no other literal enforcement option, actually.
right.
Well, I guess the vault could move closer away from the public way into the building.
But then you go with
They might
that.
lose their commercial space altogether.
Yeah, right. That's how that would come up.
So probably would not be a viable project, or they would
Because of the financial hardship. Right.
First floor footprint. And then number
3,
desirable relief could be granted without causing substantial detriment to the public good, without nullifying or substantially derogating from the intent and purpose of a specific district. So I think it was Zach Zaremba that said, or even a lot of pedestrians would not notice. I mean, you lose what could be a nice commercial storefront, but it's not in the public way. It's part of the streetscape, but not literally in the public way.
Yes, correct. It doesn't have any detriment to pedestrians walking by. It doesn't really exist as anything except a minor eyesore to certain people.
So if these are all three okay, should we repeat them for the first hardship and then, I mean, first variance and then second, third, and fourth, say, using the same findings?
Staff,
So,
what are we required to do on that? What are we legally required?
This is Kit. Yeah, so each item will need to be, the findings and vote will need to be separate.
Okay, so you have to give the findings, all three, and then we vote. And then we go the next one again and again.
I believe so. Yes.
Sarah Lewis, you second that emotion? Yep, thank you. Thank you, Kit. All right, so we know that. Annie, you all set? You put your thoughts together there while we hear what Ann has to say?
sure, I think by number 4, I'll be very articulate. Let's do this. Okay. Okay, so for
Ann Fullerton has something she wanted to say before you make any motions. Can she go now? Ann
Yep,
Bockelman?
Madam Chair.
Go ahead,
Thank
Ann
you.
Fullerton. Thank you.
I'm willing to support this with the condition that the public way, as described by Ms. Lewis, that the public way is considered by planning. Because I do think that there is an argument that it is a detriment to the public way. And I just want to note for the record, my biggest frustration is that we're seeing this case many years after it was literally set in stone.
Yeah.
And I don't know that as though we would have actually voted any differently had it come to us when in the planning process, but it's a really frustrating issue for us as board members to continuously see requests for forgiveness.
Yeah. Thank you. Anyone else? Cece is all set. Cece, you all set, hon? And Zach's all set. I'm all set. I agree 100%. You know how I feel about projects that we've had a couple recently that, the contractor changed it, the architect changed it. They didn't double check with the city. They didn't check with the plan, ISD, whomever. That to me is a real, I don't like it. And it seems to be the same people do it. I didn't know. They all pretend they don't know. This here, I thought about this the same way, but that was the little twist, was the public utility not having an open mind and being able to work more with all these suggestions they made, hooking onto somebody else, hooking onto a pole, do it this way, do it. They had 3 or 4 really good ideas, I thought, and they just wouldn't let them do it. And I think that's terrible. And I think, like you say, time. He was saying some of these things took 7, 8 months to go from one thing to another. So that's why I felt the way I did on this tonight. Because you guys, if anyways watch how I vote, I don't like, curveballs like this at the end. It's just not cool. But I do like us moving forward in a positive fashion, that we know the city's working on stuff. And we could tweak them too, we can call every so often and say, hey, what's going on? How's your committee doing? When's the next meeting? Maybe I'd like to sit in on it and participate. And also then have the planning, as they're going forward with all their other stuff, keep an eyeball on this, and they might have an idea of how to make it better. the coverage or how to protect that transformer better and yet serviceable for Eversource. So if everybody's done, I'd ask, we're gonna take a vote. Ms. Vigorito, we're gonna take a vote. You happy with the poll? Okay,
I'm happy. Thank you, Madam Clerk,
Bassoon?
Madam Chairwoman, sorry.
all right.
So
Bassoon and Will, you guys all done? Okay,
again, Madam Chair, I'm going to list our findings first, and then I'll take the vote.
okay,
Okay?
yep,
And again, for record, the hardship variances are listed in the staff report, which is different from the published agenda, which is not correct. For ZP 25-00058, that's relief from requirements for ground story commercial spaces fronting the primary facade. So the special criteria 1, the special circumstances that exist relating to the existing soil conditions are that the sidewalk in front of the building where the vault was supposed to go was too congested, discovered to be too congested, which was an unforeseen existing condition. Criteria 2, literal enforcement of this provision would involve a substantial hardship. The developer team has already taken some hardship by subtracting from their commercial space. If we were to improve on this, pushing this transformer pad back even more, they may lose their commercial space entirely, which is a substantial hardship, financial or otherwise. Criteria 3, desirable relief could be granted without causing substantial detriment. We discussed that there was no detriment to, not substantial to pedestrians, since it is not in the public way. So those 3. So now, following public testimony, review of the submitted materials, and upon deliberating and finding that all criteria required for issuing a hardship variance as required by our zoning ordinance have been satisfied, I make a motion to approve with conditions the variance for hardship variance for the ground story commercial space. Again, ZP 25-00058. With the conditions listed in the staff memo of August 1, as well as we'd like to add a condition that the impact for public way, the impact on the public way should be considered by the planning board. That we hope that they will review from a design perspective, the screening element currently installed.
thank you. I think you covered everything. So everybody, we think she covered everything on that, Ann Fullerton? I think so. Good, okay. So, in the matter of ZP 25-00058, 379 Somerville Ave, all in favor, please say aye. Zach Zaremba,
Aye.
Cecilia Daglian,
Aye.
Ann Fullerton,
Aye.
Ann Brockelman,
Aye.
and Susan Fontano, aye. Let the record show that it was a unanimous approval. Good luck. I hope you have some good luck going for future forward with this. And
Thank you.
work with the planning board and let them give you some help and get you going.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman, and rest of the Zoning Board of Appeals. We truly appreciate your kindness, understanding, and direction.
Thank
And I'll
you.
see you in a couple more minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you
Ann,
very much.
you're welcome.
Sorry,
Say
I thought
hi
we were
to
doing
Jack.
3 more. Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Those all set. Ann, what's going on, Ann Brockelman? You have your
Did I
hand up.
misunderstand? I thought we were doing 3 more.
Yeah, we are, but I'm just having a moment here. Okay, so that's 58. Now we're gonna go on to 59. Go ahead, Ann.
59 is the location of the mechanical unit in the frontage area, which is prohibited. Okay, so relief from putting the transformer, relief from to be allowed to put the transformer in the frontage. Criteria 1, special circumstances exist in that there were too many utilities, the sewer line under the sidewalk, which prohibited the ability to install the transformer underneath the sidewalk. Criteria 2, literal enforcement would involve substantial hardship. We agree that there's not really a better solution than installing it in front because it's a 0 lot line project. Criteria 3, desired relief could be granted without substantially derogating from the intent. It's not in the public way and therefore doesn't impede on public circulation. So following this, I make a motion to grant the relief for case ZP 25000059, which is relief from SZO 2.4.3.D.V, which prohibits mechanical use in the storage in the frontage area. I make a motion to approve with conditions, which is that we'd like the planning board to review impact on the public way and weigh in on the design of the screening element currently installed. And we'd like to incorporate the permit conditions and the facts and findings of the August 1st staff report.
Second, please.
Seconded.
Second.
Seconded by Zach Zaremba. All in favor, please say aye. Cece Daglian,
Aye.
Ann Fullerton,
Aye.
Ann Brockelman,
Aye.
Zach Zaremba,
Aye.
and Susan Fontano. Aye. Unanimous 5 approval for the hardship variance. Thank you. Next, Ann.
Madam Chair, through you. Is it
Yes.
possible for zoning team, is it possible for Anne to just note for each of the remaining 2 conditions and criteria as discussed in the previous 2, so she doesn't have to read them each time?
I thought we
Since
both
they
had
have the
to.
same conditions and criteria for all of them?
I think unfortunately, because they're separate cases, they each have to
Okay,
be
I was
read
game.
individually. Sorry, Anne.
I asked.
Okay.
Thank you, Anne. Shall we?
Yes, we shall.
The
Go on,
third
please.
one, which is relief from ground story fenestration requirements. Okay, criteria 1, special circumstances relating to the soil conditions. The soil conditions are that the sidewalk underneath, where they wanted to put the vault for the transformer, was found to be congested, full with sewer lines, so they could not put it there. This is another one, which is the Eversource requirement had a 3-hour rated wall. So that facade had to be a 3-hour rated wall, which they kept masonry in keeping with the rest of the facade. Criteria 2, literal enforcement would involve substantial hardship. Well, again, that's the 3-hour rated wall. Making that fenestration would be very cost prohibitive. And then relief could be granted without causing substantial detriment. The facade is pushed back quite a ways from the public way, and the transformer where installed is not in the public way. So with those 3 findings, I make a motion to approve with conditions the variance for ZP 25-000060, which is relief from the ground story fenestration requirements, incorporating the facts and findings of the August 1 staff report, including its permit conditions and our added condition of engaging or asking the planning board to review impact of the public way of the screening element currently installed.
Thank you. May I have a second on the motion, please?
Second.
Cecilia Daglian. All in favor as we go around, please say aye. Ann Fullerton,
Aye.
Ann Brockelman,
Aye.
Cecilia Daglian,
Aye.
Zach Zaremba, and Susan
Aye.
Fontano, aye. Thank you, Zach. I'm sorry. Let the record show all unanimous in the approval to the hardship variance.
Okay, the
And
last one,
Yep.
the 4th hardship variance is relief from the maximum front ground story setback. Our considerations and findings for the 3 criteria met for the hardship variances. Criteria 1, special circumstances exist relating to the soil conditions. The vault could not be put underground below the sidewalk in front as planned because of the congested underground utility conditions. The sewer line was an unforeseen existing condition. So it had to be put on the front of the ground story, creating an alcove setback. Criteria 2, literal enforcement would involve substantial hardship, financial or otherwise. We discussed that they could not put it anywhere else. This was the minimum alcove they could create. Otherwise, they may lose their ground floor commercial space, or it would be even smaller, making it financially not viable. Criteria 3, desirable relief could be granted without causing substantial detriment to the public good, and the transformer in its location now is out of the public way, not interfering with the sidewalk, with pedestrian access. So with those 3 findings, I make a motion to approve with conditions the hardship variance for ZP 25-000074, which is relief from the maximum front ground story, incorporating the facts and findings of the staff report of August 1st, including the ZBA's condition of consideration of the planning board to review the current screening element for its appropriateness, its impact on the public way.
Wasn't Mary Rose? Thank you. May I have that's it, Ann? Thank you. May I have a second?
Seconded.
Seconded by Zach. All in favor? As we go around, please say aye. Ann Brockelman,
Aye.
Ann Fullerton,
Aye.
Cece Daglian,
Aye.
Zach Zaremba,
Aye.
and Susan Fontano, aye. Let the record show is all voting the affirmative for the hardship variance. There you go, guys. Good job on the board. Good luck to you folks. And thank you. And
You,
I
Madam.
guess, Rito, you're stuck still. Gotta stay.
I'm still
We're
here.
holding you hostage. Thank you, guys. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
All right. Sarah, thank you for all your input. See, we still need you here, you know. Hang around, girl.
You know you don't get rid of me that easy.
Thank you. Nice to see
Have a
you.
good night.
All right. Okay. Let's see. Where's my agenda here? Let me put this stuff away. Pictures
Madam
and
Chair?
everything. Yes,
May we have a 5-minute recess?
absolutely.
Thank
So
you.
it's 7:58. We'll see you back here about 5, 10 past. Let's do 10 past 8. All
Thank
right,
you.
everybody? Okay, thank you. I'd like to welcome everybody back. It's 8:10, August 6th. And we're gonna go back to our agenda for the evening. Everybody's present, yes? We're at 14 McGrath Highway. Miss Ann, if you would, please. I gotta see Ann Brockelman with all the Anns here tonight.
Yes, I'd like to open the case. There are two cases for the legal notice for 14 McGrath Highway. ZP 25-000044. Liquor Junction is proposing to expand their alcohol sales business in the commercial business district, which will require a special permit under SZO 4.3.13, permitted uses. The second related case, ZP 25-000063, 14 McGrath Highway. Liquor Junction is proposing to increase the leasable floor area of their business's use to more than 10,000 square feet in the commercial business district, which requires a special permit per SZO 9.1.7.c.I.
Thank you. Ann Vigorito's here.
Good.
And Lexi Payne is our case planner tonight for this case. So, Ms. Vigorito, tell us what you're gonna do.
First off,
We're
could
at with cases.
Mr. Patel be promoted to a panelist? He has our PowerPoint, so he and I will be working hand in hand on this.
What's his name?
Mr. Patel, Kuchal Patel.
I see it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Patel, are you there? Lexi? Can you help us?
I think that there he is. He's starting. Okay. Can you go to the first slide, Mr. Patel? Thank you. Thank you. No, Mr. Patel, the first slide, you were just there. Yes, thank you. Good evening, everyone. This is Ann Vigorito. I'm the attorney for the applicant. And this is Liquor Junction, located at the Twin City Plaza, which is 14 McGrath Highway. They have been there since 2017. I'm joined this evening by Mr. Patel. He's the business development manager and part of the applicant team, myself. And we're also joined this evening. She's here only if you would have questions relative to anything with Twin City. A question came up at a neighborhood meeting, so I thought it would be best to bring Jennifer Mitchell along. She's the manager at Twin City Plaza. She won't be speaking, but once again, if the board has any questions, she's here to answer those. So this is a matter that started some time ago. I was the attorney. We had gone to the City of Somerville Licensing Commission and the ABCC. They have approval because this is a liquor store and they're going to expand into the store next door, which was the old sewing store. We did have a neighborhood meeting regarding this several months back. It was very well attended. There was, I would say the majority was support. There may have been one or two questions that asked if other things could go there, which once again was not the prevalent point at that point in time. Counselor Scott has been heavily involved with Mr. Patel. He fully supports this expansion. So if we could go to the next slide. So this is a family operated business. It's the Patel family. They have stores in Reading, which has been open since June of 2014. So over 11 years, they were voted the #1 liquor store in the Reading magazine for 7 years straight. They have a Woburn location, which has been in operation since June of 2015. The Winchester and Somerville locations actually opened at the same time back in June of 2017. In the 10 years that they have been in business, they've had over 6 million transactions and they've had no liquor violations, which is huge for a liquor store. They do everything right. I know it may not be within the purview of this board, but you know, they have the machines that help check the IDs. They scrutinize. You know, they do it right here. All cashiers are tip certified. They, as I said, use their ID scanning machines. It's a very modernized liquor store. They have 3,000 fine wines, which focused on international wines, and over 2,500 beers. More than 80% of those are craft beers. 500 plus ready to drink premium options, 200 plus non-alcoholic craft beers, spirits, and wines, 1,500 spirits, which is more than the 60% of craft spirits. They are also, and I know this because we talked about it in our neighborhood meeting, they're the largest single barrel whiskey program in the state, which is, you know, kind of a specialty with themselves to have that. And, you know, people come from all over for that selection. So they're expanding, as I said, into the previous tenant next door to them, which was Sophisticated. I wanted to make sure I got the name right. They were a sewing store for a number of years there. That space is 3,282 square feet. So it's 1,000 square feet of storage and the rest will be retail. The total square footage then will be 11,300 after the alterations are complete. Right now, they're at about 8,028 square feet. This will enable the store to carry more local craft beers because there is a high demand from those. The Patel family, they listen to their customers and they're hearing they want more of that and they want more spirits while providing, you know, a really better layout. You know, to have everything kind of pushed together, it's not as appealing to the consumer that comes in there. They want to, you know, have a better overall shopping experience. Next slide. So the business model, every Thursday and Friday, they do complimentary educational events hosted by industry experts. They do cocktail recipes, wine, craft beers. Every Friday and Saturday, they have tastings. They have seasonal grand tastings with 70 plus wines, 50 plus craft beers. They always are promoting local breweries and distilleries in the area. Next slide. These are some of their sample events, you know, from the past, like last fall, they did one in October, and, you know, a spring tasting back in the spring. Next slide. These are just some of the sample pictures of how their aisles look. I mean, very clean, very spacious, very, very well organized. I know myself, I get a little overwhelmed in these types of stores and it really helps when it's like, you know, set up so well and they have a great staff too, but it really, you know, helps people when they're just kind of looking around and want to, you know, see what's out there. The next slide, please. So this is the floor plan for the store. Mr. Patel, I may have you address where the, you know, where some of the, it's a little confusing, so I'm going to have him address it because he designed it, not me.
Yes, so it's a, hi all. So the left or bottom part of it's an existing store right now where you see not highlighted. The highlighted one is going to be the new addition that we are planning or the expansion we are planning. It's going to lay out all similar way, exactly the way the shelving works. Our shelving is very cleaner, neater. Always we keep 5 feet between our aisles, not like traditional stores where everything's all over the top itself. It's usually walkable, expanding storage in the back as well. So it's going to be much more cleaner, straight looking. Right now, we do have good amount of space, but it's still not enough because of the non-alcoholic and craft breweries and all that stuff is expanding. So we kind of adapting to it. Our family is investing a lot of money to make this better, and also into long-term lease signing with the Regency centers. And also we are going to be incurring a lot of costs with it, but I think it's the right fit for us and right fit for the community. We always been heavily involved with anything that local customers ask for and all that. So not everybody is receptive to that, but other stores, we usually cater to everybody. Even if being big store, we usually work like a family-owned small store where we are, one of us are always there from our family. We always catering to the customers what they are looking for.
And just to briefly summarize, I know in the staff report, the staff does support this as this project does support the goals laid out in Summer Vision 2040, the city comprehensive master plan, which includes to invest in the growth of a resilient economic base that is centered around transit, generates a wide variety of job opportunities, creates active daytime population, supports independent local businesses, and secures fiscal self-sufficiency. We all know Twin City is very heavily on a transit area. I know the Patel family, they hire locally. A lot of their employees live very close by, and hopefully with the expansion, they're probably going to need to hire a few more people. Also, the intent of the zoning district, which is a CB zoning district, is to maintain commercial activities that are primarily assessed by motor vehicles, and to maintain already existing areas appropriate for modern and large scale and low-rise buildings in the community and region, which serve commercial uses that do not readily assimilate into other zoning districts. I mean, everyone here, I'm sure, is familiar with Twin City. Huge parking lot as well. In the past several years, there's been changes in that area. Liquor Junction is probably the only place in the immediate area that you can buy alcohol. Savmore closed several years back. And Star Market next door, well, I say next door, but in the plaza, they used to sell, I think, beer and wine, but they no longer do that. So, Liquor Junction definitely is, there to, for the community and the community needs. I'm going to stop here because I figure if there's questions from the board or, public testimony, and we can come back after with any questions and answers you may have. And like I said, we do have the representative from Twin City if there are any questions for her as well. Thank you.
Thank you. So, do we have anybody from the public that'd like to speak tonight? Lexi, Kit?
This is Kit. I do not see anyone with their hand raised at this time.
No, okay. Well, we'll leave it open, and if somebody should come along. If not, somebody will remind me that I have to close it. So we're gonna open up to the board. Could we have our screen back, please, so I can see all the faces of the board members? Thank you. So here we go. What do we think? Do you have some comments, questions? Anybody? Did they, with their presentation, answer all the questions you might have had when you came in tonight? No? Are you ready to vote? Yes, I see Ann shaking. Zach, yeah, Ann. Yeah, okay. Well, I'm gonna close the public portion of this case, which is 14 McGrath Highway, and open it up to the board and our acting clerk tonight, who's also our vice chair, and ask for a motion, please.
Okay, yes, Madam Chair. In the case of 14 McGrath Highway, ZP 25-000044, I make a motion to grant the special grant with conditions the special permit to establish alcohol sales retail use for this site, incorporating the facts and findings of the staff report of July 31st.
Okay, and do we want to also mention the our decision, making on this consideration and findings on page 3? Special permit
Yes.
considerations.
Incorporating the considerations and findings of the special permit considerations, which is on page 3 of the July 31st staff report.
Great, thank you. And the conditions, we're adopting the for the public record in the inspectional service division on pages 4, all these conditions and 5 have all been added into the file. We're also considered all of that in doing our preparation for this evening. So without further ado, may I please have a second on the motion? Seconded by, okay, Cece and Ann. All in favor as we go around. So that's the matter of 14 McGrath. Here we go on ZP 25. This is the 00044. Right, Ann?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. Cece Daglian,
Aye.
Ann Fullerton,
Aye.
Zach Zaremba,
Aye.
Ian Brockelman,
Aye.
and Susan Fontano, aye. Let the record show. All voting members voted in the affirmative and carried. Next is going to be the ZP, Ian.
Yes. For the case ZP 25-000063, 14 McGrath Highway. I make a motion to grant the grant with conditions, the special permit to increase the leasable floor area to more than 10,000 square feet, incorporating the facts and findings of the July 31st staff report, which includes the considerations and findings. That is on page 3, 4, 5 onward.
Great. May I have a second on the motion, please?
Seconded.
Seconded by Zach Zaremba. All in favor as we go around. Ann Fullerton,
Aye.
Cece Daglian,
Aye.
Ann Brockelman,
Aye.
Zach Zaremba,
Aye.
and Susan Fontano, aye. Let the record show again, in the matter of 14 McGrath Highway, all voting members voted the affirmative to carry the special permit. Thank you very much. Good luck, Ms. Vigorito.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the ZBA. We truly appreciate your consideration tonight, and it's been great spending the evening with you. Take care.
Thank you. You earned your keep tonight. Have a good one. Bye, Mr. Patel.
Thank you.
Okay, hon, take care. Oh, what happened?
Madam Chair, other business, will staff be coordinating or presenting other business? Oh, she disappeared. Okay.
Okay.
Can I
Thank
ask a
you.
question? Are we closing the hearing
No,
after we close it?
no, we're not closing. We're gonna do more business, right?
There's
Other
other business. Is that for staff to report
Yeah,
to us?
it's about the, yeah, it's on it's on the agenda. And it's on page 2. And it refers to the other business, updates to rules and policy procedures. Right? Everybody got that? Right, we do that during the open meeting. Okay, it's, staff is here, but, I'll let Kit do her thing. Go ahead, Kit.
Yeah, I'm not sure that I have too much to report other than, let me pull it up actually, I'm sorry. One moment here. This is a change that the planning board made at their last meeting, or maybe 2 meetings ago. The first change, excuse me, I scroll down, was to change the number of ground story commercial spaces from 2 units to 1 unit within an existing structure for the expansion of an existing use. And then
And
any
that's on page
increase.
9. Yeah,
Yes, page 9. Any increase in the number of ground floor commercial spaces within an existing structure. And I think that the reason for these suggested changes was, I'm not sure how much it's affected the zoning board, but there were a number of somewhat minor cases that were having to go through either full site plan approval or site plan approval and special permits that, you can go from 2 to 1 unit administratively, but 1 to 2 units was not. So they decided to adopt this change that would allow 1 unit to be split into multiple without having to go through the full site plan approval. Of course, they still can defer to either the planning board or the zoning board should you approve the changes. If it felt like this was more of a minor change within a certain application. And then the second change I'll touch on really quick was really just a Scrivener's error that to match up to the correct zoning ordinance section that gives staff or the director of plant PPZ minor site plan approval. So that one
Where's
was really
that?
just, that's also on page 9, right at the
The
beginning.
next thing after, yeah, okay.
It'll just read 15.7.2. D
Yeah.
and so on instead of 0.3, which it was just incorrectly referencing.
I see. Okay. Anybody have any questions or comments on those changes? No. I think, this falls under that category too, substantial or insubstantial. And, I can remember years ago, they did a lot of this on the historic, preservation board. They allowed a lot of little things on the staff, because the staff had to go out, look at the property anyway and figure out what was going on. And she'd come back and instead of, going through the whole thing, legal notices and all that jive, and then having a meeting, they allowed them to approve it. And again, if they thought it was anything substantial, they kicked it back to us. And that's what this is. It makes sense. Cuts out a lot of unnecessary red tape. So, does anybody have any comments? Are you ready to vote? Ready to vote? Okay. Ann Brockelman, would you please make a motion for the record?
Sorry, I was muted. Are we saying make a motion to adopt
Approve.
the updates to the rules?
Yeah,
Okay, so, Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve and adopt the updates to the rules of policy and procedure, one of which is additional minor site plan approval allowances, and the other item is minor site plan approval, Scrivener's error revision.
so on page 9, item 7 and number 8 in A, right? 3 items. Everybody got that? Good. May I have a second on the motion for the amendment?
Seconded.
Second.
Ann Fullerton and Zach. As we go along, please say aye. Ann Brockelman,
Aye.
Ann Fullerton,
Aye.
Zach Zaremba,
Aye.
Cece Daglian,
Aye.
and Susan Fontano. Aye. Let the record show the amendments were approved unanimously by all 5 voting members. Thank you, everybody. Any other business to take up tonight? No? Anybody have a comment? Yes, Cece?
I have a question. We are allowed to abstain from voting, correct? Like if
Mhm.
instead of saying yea or nay, we can just say abstain.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have to give it a reason when you abstain? No, you just say, no, I don't think so.
I
Okay.
don't believe so.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay. Anybody else?
Thank you.
No? Okay, well, can I have a motion to close the meeting?
Yes, I make a motion to adjourn today's meeting, August 6, 2025.
Thank you. Seconded by? Cece and Ann
Yeah.
Fullerton. All in favor, please say aye. Ann Brockelman,
Aye.
Ann Fullerton,
Aye.
Zach Zaremba,
Aye.
Cece Daglian,
Aye.
and Susan Fontano, aye. Let the record show everybody wants to go home. My thanks to staff as always. Good job in having some folks come in and help us out with some of those cases tonight. And I thank all of you for your input. It was a very active, informative meeting. Everybody's expressing what you think about, and we hash it out, and I thank you for that. So everybody have a good night. Enjoy the rest of the week. It's supposed to be decent weather again still. I'll take it. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night. Bye.